want to talk about these today. Hey guys, what's up? So, yeah, these. I want to talk about these today. Before I get on, I know there was a couple of other videos I needed to do first, and I will get around to those. But I hit a couple of snags with those, so I just need to hurry and get those snags fixed. Also, please excuse the lighting. The main light, for some reason, doesn't want to work. So until I can get some better lighting in here, we're going to have to deal with the, well, kind of darkness. But, yeah. Today I just thought I'd talk about these because even though I mostly focus on, you know, sword work and barehanded work, at least when I did in the past and still try to keep up with it now, I've always messed around with these, you know, good old chucks. And they're a favorite of mine, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about my own perceptions of them because as much as I like them, there are a couple of things about them that well, I'm not going to say problematic, but, well, we'll get into it. So, yeah, who doesn't know nunchucks and who doesn't love them? I mean, they're, you know, iconic weapons. I mean, Bruce Lee kind of brought them to the forefront in his movies, and they look cool as hell. You know, they're flashy, you know, they spin around, they look fast, you do all these crazy tricks with them and stuff. You know, we see them in different martial arts these days. I mean, hell, the Ninja Turtles, Michelangelo, you know, he's the Chuck guy, and he is everyone's favorite. You know, people like Chucks. People like, you know, seeing them whip around and stuff like that. But for as popular as these weapons are in, you know, popular media, it's kind of funny to me how they're not exactly, you know, ubiquitous weapons. Like, they're not the sort of thing that you see, like, just anybody carrying. You know, like, for instance, swords, well, you look at certain, I mean, of course, so many different cultures have swords. But you look at, you know, martial arts culture, so many martial artists carry some version of a sword or saber or a knife of some kind. If they don't carry those, then it might be a spear or the staff. But you don't see many carrying chucks, at least not in real life. I mean, or real life counterparts. Like, think of real martial arts heroes that, you know, we've made legends about. I can't, you know, say for, I guess, Bruce Lee, who'd be, I guess, a modern legend. But you look way, 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 way back. How many people can you actually say were famous for using chucks? We got famous swordsmen. We got famous spear guys. We got, you know, famous staff people. We got, like, you know, Shaolin Temple's well known for the staff. But you don't see much about the chucks. And I'm thinking part of the reason for that is that these aren't exactly great weapons. Don't get me wrong. Again, I like using them. They're fun to play around with. And for a while, I even used to use them sort of as a meditation aid. I hesitate to use the word meditation because it wasn't really that. It was more like, kind of like while I'm musing over something or thinking about something, I'll just, like, you know, nonchalantly whip these things around until I got my thoughts, you know, straighten out and stuff. But this was not something exactly I would carry as, like, a personal weapon. And yes, before anyone mentions it, yes, I know these things can hit pretty damn hard. And yes, they can be pretty effective in the right hands. But that's just it, in the right hands. These are rather specialized weapons. And in fact, if you do some research, there is some debate as to whether these things really were intended to be, like, straight up, you know, decent weapons at all. I know that the common conception is that these things were derived from stuff that was used to beat rice or wheat. But the funny thing is, when you actually see the things that are used to do that, they don't look like this. So it's kind of like a, you know, a bit of a stretch, you know, if we're really going to be practically looking at these from where they came from. But however they came through, this is not exactly a history lesson on the chucks. However they came about, and, you know, they're fun to use, but they're specialized weapons. They made, I guess, for a specific purpose and for a specific use, for somebody with a specific talent. And when you start dealing with weapons like that, that's when you start dealing with something that can be limited in the wrong hands or even in the right hands. Certain scenarios, these things are just not going to be good for. Like, how do you effectively block other weapons with this? Like, seriously, think about it. I mean, you're going to block it with the rope or the chain or whatever. Like, it's not, you know, I guess you could, but it's not, you know, practical. I mean, I know there's also the whole thing about using it to grab the other weapon and grapple with it and maybe pull it out the way. And I guess it's possible in the right scenario, but it's not exactly a likely one. It's pretty much like that same likely scenario of catching somebody's punch as it's coming to you. Anyone who's fought in real life will tell you that that's not exactly something that you can just do, no matter how many times you see this in a martial arts application. So, yeah, these things, when you realize that its defensive capabilities are somewhat limited, then you realize that they're made mostly for offensive use. And that makes sense. These are essentially a flail. It's like a Morning Star without the spiky bit. It's just two sticks, and you catch a rope, and you spin them around and flail them at people. And that's pretty much the technique with these. You're just swinging it and hitting the guy with it, or at least hoping that you hit the guy. And that the force that you generate from spinning it and whipping it around is going to be quite powerful. I mean, there was a reason why these things were banned in several states, and even certain countries. Well, part of it is because of ignorance, and how popular they were with certain groups, but also because they can do some damage when you hit someone with these things. But essentially, it's a flail. Any good flail is, efficient at causing a significant amount of concussive damage. Just swing and pow, crack somebody with it. So then it made me wonder, well, where do all the tricks come in? Like the stuff like, whipping around like that and then coming off like that. Where does that come in? Well, if you miss, you don't want to hit yourself, right? So it's like just the basic, you can give me some room here. The basic thing with this is, you just, in case you miss, you're at least able to recover. That's pretty much all this is. You miss, but you can recover. You miss, but you can recover. That's pretty much what it is. You wind up, you bash somebody across the freaking skull, and usually when it hits, there's going to be some recoil. It's not the same as when you go like that and then you miss, but then you get that perfect snapback and you just do that. There's going to be a little bit of a stun, and you got to compensate for that too. It's funny how a lot of people are used to whipping things, in midair, just doing their tricks in the air. But once they actually strike an object, it's weird to them. Like they can't, like what the, and then they kind of get off balance a little bit. It's because you got to get used to that recoil from the hit. I mean, there is some follow through, and you do it strong enough, you can still, whip and go all the way through. But if there's going to be some stoppage, and you got to compensate for that. But still, you don't want to just swing and then leave yourself wide open. Like let's say you miss, and you like that. Well, we know what happens when you make a big haymaker and miss. Same thing with weapons. You leave yourself wide open. Ugh. So again, that's where that comes in. It's like I missed, but I can still, come back. Like boom and return. Simple stuff. And then of course, this whole switching hands to throw people off and then coming at them from another different angle. But that's essentially all that is. You're just compensating for the swing so that you're not, over swinging and stuff like that, and being able to, recover quickly and then snap back and just keep your offense up. But then we see a whole lot of other crazy tricks, like, the wrist flip, doing it around the neck. Those are just that, tricks. There really isn't much practical use for those. Again, this is just a flail. You're just swinging the thing at them like a stick. I mean, there's some advanced stuff you can do, but all the crazy stuff where you're doing this and all that type of stuff, all that, or, like doing the wrist flip, like that, there's not much practical use to it, at least as far as what I've seen. It's just, they're tricks. And, you see them in tournaments also. Like, you'll see guys, like, doing all these crazy spins, and the more complicated the trick, the more points they get. That's just that. It's just technicals. It's just like, look how fancy I can be with these things. Practical use? Not much. And really, how much practical use can you have with a flail? So, yeah, that's the thing I find funny about these. For as popular as they are, if you're looking for a weapon for self-defense, you're probably better off with a stick. Really, they're more versatile than these. You got more control over them. You can, defend yourself better with it in case of strikes coming in. Strikes to the wrist, or blocking the other weapon, things like that. They're everywhere. Length of pipe, broken broomstick, something like that. Sticks are good practical weapons. Pipe, and of course, there's nothing wrong with the good old, the knife. Keeping a pocket knife on you, like, for a practical weapon. These, I know some people would argue for these being decent practical weapons, but I mean, come on, several states in the United States, you can't have them. Certain countries, you can't have them. And even if you could, are you seriously going to be carrying a bunch of these around in your back pocket? I mean, which is funny that I'm saying that, considering that there are places now where you can actually walk around with open carry a sword. So I guess if you could do that, and then, why not these, right? Anyway, I don't know how informative or, you know, how entertaining you'll find this video to be. I just was whipping these around one day, and I'm like, you know, it's kind of funny that I keep playing with these, and I've never really done a video about them. So I decided to do that. Mostly it's just my opinion of them. I didn't want to give like a history lesson or all that, because I'm pretty sure you can find some better videos on that. But if you want me to go a little bit deeper into these, I guess I could try to whip up a video about that. But I just thought I've been messing with these for years. They're fun for me. I like flipping them around and doing crazy tricks with them, and they're not really that hard. I mean, at first you gotta get over the fear of hitting yourself with them. But once you get over that, these really aren't that hard to play around with. Not really, especially if you have some martial arts experience. They're fun weapons. They're just not as... They're fun, but they're not as awesome as certain movies would make them out to be, I think. At least not, you know, unless you have the right hands. Anyway, hope you guys found that entertaining. Catch you guys later.